in the British Army for 30 years. And I can tell you with my hand on my heart, I did not fight, so that when I walk through a town centre, I'm videoed by people who are monitoring my behaviour. I didn't fight for that. I'm a grandfather, and I'm also a father. And I know that there are fathers and grandfathers in this very audience. But everyone that came here today, you are all warriors. And you're warriors that understand what peace means. Because in reality, it's those types of warriors that end up being the most powerful warriors.
Have you anything to say?
And of course, at this moment in time, we find ourselves in a situation where I believe that the way we're being treated is disproportionate to a threat. When I served my time in the military, I was an analyst. And as an analyst, I question everything. Because I'm not interested in Boris's opinion. Opinions come from character. And Boris does not have a character. If you want to know what somebody's going to do in the future, just watch what they've done in the past. They'll show you. And so what is our job? Our job is to raise awareness peacefully. Because I know that I've been called a conspiracy theorist. Well, I can tell you this. If a conspiracy is a conspiracy, it has a habit of turning into a fact when you measure it. And I'm in the world of measurement. What have I measured? As a person who used to prepare people for war through mental and physical conditioning, which was my job, I wore the cap badge of only 330 people throughout the whole of the British Army. And my job was to mentally and physically prepare people for combat. That's what it was. So I understand when we start to get very short messages and we start to experience people squeezing us and letting us go, squeezing us and letting us go, so that we eventually get to a point where we think that the squeeze is us being let go, I know that something's happening behaviourally. And of course this is what I've experienced. So I've seen how we get confusion coming from the top, because you know, guess what? When we confuse people, they become highly suggestible. And then if we put fear in that space, we tell them about something that has never actually been isolated in its own right, and I can prove that academically. Then when people become confused, they become highly suggestible. And whatever we suggest as a route out of that pain, for the majority, they're naturally going to take whatever they think seems reasonable. And all you need to do with that group of people is tell them that it's in their own interest and in the interest of their families and all the people that they love, and they will do that very quickly. Well, guess what? Statistically speaking, analytically speaking, I can assure you that I've done my homework. I sat with a guy that had literally requested 1,300 freedom of information requests, and he asked 5 specific questions around COVID to all the police forces, to all of the NHSs, the hospitals and public services. And I can tell you now, what the government are telling you right now is in complete contradiction to the freedom of information requests that he found information from. There is huge disparity in those figures. I'm also a personal safety and public order trainer, so I understand the police's job. I understand how they engage with the public, how they're meant to. And I was down in Trafalgar, and by the way, I can't imagine a world without police. I really can't. Because in reality, when a constable does their job, which is to be autonomous and to follow the rule of law and to make that decision on his or her own in that moment, that's what they're trained to do. But what we are currently seeing, and what I experienced down in Trafalgar, was an agent. I experienced people doing what they were told to do. Now, if you look at the police as a group of people, they're in our community. I've got some really good mates that are police people, and I still work with them. Because guess what? When we look for peace, we can find commonality. But when we become agents, we follow the instructions of someone else, we become an order follower. And order followers in history are the most dangerous people that have ever existed. Because if you truly love your community, if you truly love your family, you will question anything that takes away their rights. And what are we currently experiencing? All in the name of data that is dodgy, the testing that's dodgy, the R rate. I can tell you now, the R rate will never get below 1 if you keep testing people with dodgy tests. It will never get below 1. Even the predictive model that was given to us right at the start of this, was designed to flatten the curve, was way off the mark. That's a fact. And any analyst that looks at those numbers can tell you that. My partner, Victoria, she's a bit of a statistician in her own right. She looked at the ONS figures for a period of 10 years. And I can tell you now, what we're being told does not match what we found. You know, if you go back to 2018, 60,000 people died of flu. Did we lock down our communities then? It is predicted that over 200,000 people are going to die from non-treatment. I was chatting to a doctor last week, and I interviewed a doctor for 60 minutes to find out her interpretation of what's gone on from start to finish. And I'm more than happy to show you that video if you ask for it. But her conclusion was, we are being lied to. That's her conclusion. And I'll tell you something else that I find very, very divisive. I've never seen in my lifetime how one mask can divide so many people. And are you telling me that the person who created that rule did not know that? I've heard common law, I don't understand it. But I do know that we have maritime law. That's the law that we currently abide within. And I have no question to doubt any of the other models, other than that I don't understand them. And I only do things that I understand. So I have served a notice of liability to a number of people. The first one was the Surgeon General, the man who dishes out vaccines to the British Army, the British forces, the person who says how they're treated. I personally have sat with over 4,000 veterans individually, at the level of getting them well mentally. And I have seen, through the patterns and the stories that I hear, how the Gulf War veterans came back damaged from vaccine. Neurological damage, MS, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and not only that, when they start to bear children, it's interesting how some of those children bear some of the same situations. So as an analyst, I tend to pay attention to that. And that's really, really important, because where are we going with this? Well, we serve a notice of liability to warn the person that is giving the sign of approval to that lets them know that they are accountable for that. Last night I was... So you see their essence behaviourally. I came out to the world of imagination a long time ago. This is why I serve notices. So the two bears in Liverpool will now be aware that everything that they do with their constituents downline as a result of COVID, that I believe is a disproportionate response to the actual threat when you measure the data. And I'm not on my own, by the way, because I'm also part of the World Freedom Alliance. If it's comparable, you might freeze. But if it's smaller than you, you'll fight. Guess what? We need to fight peacefully, because it is smaller than us. If you look at the veteran community, you might just think that you're the only people that are stood here that are paying attention to what we're saying right now, and that your gathering is only this size, right? But it's not a massive gathering, is it? But it's a quality gathering. I can tell you now, from my experience, from all the guys I'm talking to, there are an awful lot of people that are in the wings waiting. We have nearly 4 million veterans in this country. And the majority of those veterans signed up to defend their communities. We are a professional army. We have great relationships with our soldiers. It's those relationships that we're going to rely on as things start to develop. And they will develop. There's no doubt in my mind. We've just got to spread the word. So I'm going to say this. Say no. Never acquiesce. Never sacrifice what you really value inside. Because if you value your children and your grandchildren, if you have them, and you're lucky enough to have them, or you value your friends, you will stand up and be counted. And this message goes out to all the veterans out there. This is a reminder that we signed up to defend our communities. So women, men rallied. Get the men ready to stand to when we need to stand to, and we'll always do that with peace. We'll include everyone that wants to be included, and we will resist everyone that wants to be on the opposition. I thank you for listening, and I wish you all well, and I know that we're going to have a march whenever. And remember this, whenever you think you're on your own, you're not. Mick Scott, ladies and gentlemen, Mick Scott. We need a lot more like him. Right, just to repeat, we're not going to do a march. We're just going to be here for the time being, just having a good time. And I think we're going to have a Diana Ross song. It's alright, I'm not going to sing or dance, don't worry about that. So we'll have a bit of a sing song, make a noise, and then we'll hear from somebody else.
Brilliant. Thank you. You definitely can. Just dance. Brilliant. All right, Charlie. Hello. You all right there?
Shout out! What? right? Some people were saying it was a bit quiet.
Never.
Okay, the next speaker we've got coming up, he was a mental health care worker, and he put forward information, proof about basically the inequalities, we'll put it delicately, and lost his job because of it. He can fill you in a little bit more. Here's Rick. Right, all right, office!
Hi, Rick.
Right, I'll keep it short and sweet for you. Right, I lost my job in September. I work with mental health and I challenged basically face masks, PCR and COVID testing. I brought all the evidence forward and my management and area management would not acknowledge any of it. They wanted to follow government guidelines, even though that you could see that our clients were struggling with breathing and their mental health was clearly deteriorating during that time, which I am not happy with, or not happy with being a part of that. The other thing I wish to point out as well is I took some sneaky pictures when I was in the RBI because I was with one of my clients, and I can tell you that it was bloody empty. I am absolutely ashamed to be a part of the care sector, and I am glad to have lost my job after seeing what I have seen. So I stand here to tell you today that we are being told complete, utter bullshit. And it's time for us to take back our bloody home. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rick. Now, one time when I was down in London, I missed all the excitement, and we had Convict 99 here. You might have heard. 70 years old, arrested by the police. Public enemy number one. Public enemy number one. I'll just see if I can get this.
If you're the sound of the police. Hey, Bill! He's not listening.
I don't know anybody that's had that or died with it. I have people on the internet saying, oh, I had it, it's been all this time and all of this. Do you know what they are? The actors.
We get paid for it. We get paid for it. But our people dying with cancer and heart problems and everything else, do they get paid? No, they don't. Sorry, was that somebody telling me to shut up? Well, that's all right. Because I don't cope with people like that. Oh, no. You see, when you interrupt us, I forget what my brain was going to say. No, I have had people, as I've said before, but not my friends now because they've been calling us all this and that. And when I did get arrested from the police, I got loads of people saying I was must have been picking people's pockets. Well, that's why they put us in prison. Well, do I look as if I pick people's pockets? I can't even reach their pockets. We are here today because we want our freedom back. It's not just us, you've got to think about our children. I've got this one here with me, my grandson. He wanted to see what this was all about. He believes the way I believe and his father does. But the school now are doing nasty things with these children. They're telling them they've got to have the window open. So they're sitting with clats and jumpers on and things like that because they're being told that the virus will be coming through the window. Will be going out the window, sorry. It'll be going out the window. So they're opening the window. What's happening to the children? They're going to get pneumonia and things like that and flu. And if you notice, anybody who dies, they're saying that it's the virus, the COVID-19, that's what's killed them. They're putting that on everybody's death certificate. It's not. I know somebody who died with cancer, but oh no, he didn't die with that. He died on his certificate C19, which is absolutely disgusting. But go on, you're probably sick of us talking now, so I'll just tell you one last thing. If you go back when we had the swine flu, my daughter was a nurse, so she had all her injections normally, but 3 years later, well 3 years back from now, she had swine flu. They took her into the hospital and they put a mask on her, what have you, but they didn't even know how to do that. They didn't put it on properly, so she had all marks round her. They turned her machines off because she has only one kidney, and because they stopped her tablets, she had to go back onto a kidney machine. They stopped that. My daughter ended up, because of the hospital, she ended up with brain damage and other things because her kidneys failed, her lungs failed, everything failed. I looked up to the National Health at one time, but I'm sorry, I don't now. There's a lot of them. There's still some good ones. There is good ones. But there's also those that don't even know what they're doing. My daughter died 4 years ago because of this, because of the start of the swine flu. Now, if you go back to when we had the swine flu, did we have masks? Did we have been told to stay in the house? Did we say, don't give anybody a cuddle, don't touch your children, don't do this, don't do that? Did we told that? No, we weren't. Why would we told now? Why is all our money being used for things that is not necessary and they're not even correct because these tests that they're giving us, they don't work, and then everybody's getting them because they're terrified. It's people just so frightened in case they die of this. Now I know people who I've said to them, oh well, you shouldn't, you know, I'm not telling them what to do, but they said they can't wait for this injection to come out so they can get out and they'll never die. Well, they're a bit daft because you get your injection and what happens? You've still got to wear your mask, you've still got to stay in the house, you've still got to do what the government tells you to do. So, I will never ever in all my life believe what the government is telling me, especially, now I call him Wonky Cock, and he's, because I can't remember his name, and the other one. They're making an absolute fortune on this. Do they do what they're told to do? No. They go out and they do what they want to do. They go and see this one and that one. We aren't allowed to do that, but I'm sorry, you know, they should look, and we should, all this money they're spending of our money, because when our children become retired, there'll not be any money left for them, the pension, because of all the money that we are going to have to pay back to companies that buy us and these charges and retaining from our... So, we've got all of that to think of. Our poor children are going to suffer. I think I'll stop now because you're fed up with us. But what do we want? We want freedom!
Little song, and then we'll have somebody else speaking. By the way, has anybody seen this Black Death? No. Has anybody seen it? I think they'll let us know. Yeah, exactly.
It's very clever.
Right, hit it.
It's given us 5 days off for Christmas.
Don't make me sing.
It's true, yes. Some crazy. It's just, it makes no sense.
Walking down that living life on the merry-go-round. But I see it in you, so we gon' walk it out. Woo!